Government and governance are two different terms in political science that are mistakenly used interchangeably. In the study of politics, it is important to differentiate these terms to better understand how it works and how it affects our society. Government is a group of people who rule or run the administration of a country. In other words, it may be said that a government is the body of representatives and governs and controls the state at a given time. Government, it comes from the Greek word kybernan, which means to control or to steer. On the other hand, governance is the exercise of power, authority by political leader for a well-being at their country's citizens or subject. It refers to the manner of steering or governing and directing and controlling a group of people or state. Functions of the government. There are two functions of the government, the constituent function and the ministrant function. Constituent function are those which constitute the very bonds of society and are compulsory in nature. Examples are keeping of order and providing for the protection of persons and property, the fixing of the legal relations between man and wife, etc. And the ministrant function are those that are undertaken only by way of advancing the general interest of society and are merely optional. Examples are public works, public education, public charity, health and safety regulations of trade and industry. Constitution. Constitution is defined as a written instrument by which the fundamental powers of the government are established, limited, and defined any by this. Powers are distributed among the several departments and branches for their safe and useful exercise for the benefit of the Constitution. Constitution yields three primary purposes: to serve as if the fundamental law, establishes framework of the government, and determines rights and duties of the citizens.
The Philippines has a presidential and republican system of government which follows the principle of separation of powers. Under this doctrine, powers are distributed to three co-equal branches. The executive, legislative, and judiciary branches are separate and distinct from each other. This means that if each of the branches has its own power and responsibilities, and that each is expected to work on its own sphere. The officials in these branches are the principal representatives of the people who exercise sovereign powers in behalf of the people. Checks and balance principle. While it's true that each branch of the government is independent and separate, it is needed to keep each other in check so that everyone won't abuse its power. Under the doctrine of checks and balance, the legislative, executive, and judiciary are granted the powers to keep each branch to have absolute control over government decisions and balance government powers. Here are some examples of how these principles works. 1. The president of the executive branch is given the power to veto or reject a bill drafted by the legislative branch, especially if the president of the executive branch sees it as threatening to the society. 2. The Senate of the legislative branch can administer impeachment to the president for committing impeachable offenses such as treason or bribery. 3. The judicial branch can declare unconstitutional any executive order by the president of the executive branch or law passed by the legislative branch if proven. 4. The president can nominate candidates for Chief Justice. Executive branch. It is a branch of government charged with carrying out the laws enacted by the legislature. This executive power is the power to administer the laws, which means carrying them into practical operations and enforcing their due observance. This branch is composed of President, Vice President, and Cabinet. President. The President is the head of the state and leader of the national government. Moreover, He is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Vice President. The Vice President is the second highest executive official who can assume cabinet position and is the first in line to presidential succession. Cabinet. The Cabinet acts of the alter ego of the President executing with this authority the power of the office of the President in the respective departments. Power of the President and Vice President. President. Control of executive branch, supervision power, power of appointment, ordinance power, military power, pardoning power, borrowing power, budgetary power, diplomatic power, informing power, power over aliens. Vice President. The Vice President can assume a cabinet position if he or she is nominated by the President of the Philippines. The Vice President may hold a secretary position along with its present vice presidential position if the VP is already a member of the cabinet.
Function, power, and appointment of the Cabinet. Cabinet secretaries act as the alter ego of the President executing, with his authority, the power of the office of the President in their respective departments. They possess the power of issue directives relative to their department, such as department orders. These orders only apply to office ordered a specific department under the Cabinet Secretary's jurisdiction. Cabinet secretaries also act as advisory to the President of the Philippines for their areas. Legislative branch. It is a branch of government whose appropriate function is the making or enactment of laws. In the Philippines, the Congress of Philippines as the respiratory of legislative power is the legislative branch of the government. It is a bicameral or composed of two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Senate is the upper chamber of the Congress of the Philippines, which is smaller in composition, 24 senators, but have certain power the House of the Representatives does not have, such as convicting an impeached official. House of Representatives is the lower chamber of the Congress of the Philippines, which is a bigger in composition, 250 representatives. It is divided into congressmen from district and representatives from party list. Power of Senate of House of Representatives. Although senators and members of the House of Representatives are all lawmakers, that is, having the duty to make laws, they differ in the measure they institute. Power of impeachment. Impeachment cases are charges of grave misconduct against a public official for offense such as treason, bravery, and other high crimes. Power of legislative inquiry. The Congress has the power of investigate or administer and inquire in aid of legislation, meaning they can invite resources person to provide insight on how a law could be crafted or an exciting law amended. Power of appreciation. The Congress holds the so-called power of the purse, meaning the Congress can pass appropriation law to authorize the release of public funds from the Treasury for use of the various against of the government. Power of taxation. Taxes are regarded as the lifeblood of the state, as the provide need funding which enables the government to appreciate and serve the public. Thus, the Congress, subject to certain limitation, may impose or increase taxes on a particular taxable item or transaction in order to increase government revenues.
The advantages. It is advantages of environment or the internet or apply the law. The meaning of the natural law is This is natural show with a natural and free. Detail of the literary clause. Detail of the genital basis is a power of like the law of Mr. and Federal organ, like of between the suitable person and between individualist in between a power of genital clause.
Total forms of the government: monarchy, aristocracy, democracy. First is a monarchy, a government in which the power is vested in a single person who has divine and hereditary rights to rule as head of state. A monarch may be a king, queen, emperor, tsar, kaiser, sultan, or pharaoh. Corrupt monarchs are called despots or tyrant. Two types of monarchy. First is absolute monarchy. The power of the monarch is boundless or not restricted by any law. For example, ancient Egypt. Second is constitutional monarchy. The power is limited because of the constitutional charters. For example, Great Britain. Aristocracy, a government in which power is vested in a class or person who are believed to be superior and best qualified to rule. Aristocracy derives from the Greek words aristos or beast and kratos or power, when the rulers of this government turn into corrupt and self-serving elites. Then aristocracy becomes oligarchy. Democracy, a government in which power is vested on the people. Democracy derives from the Greek words demos or people and kratos or power, when the people form into a disoriented and rebellious crowd. Then democracy transforms into democracy. Two types of democracy. Direct democracy. The people direct participate in all government process, such as the creation of law and making decisions for the state. All assume position. Second is indirect representative democracy, also called republicanism. It is a government in which people give authority and power through election to representative that will serve in interests of the state. Indirect democracy is used in the Philippines. Presidential versus parliamentary. Executive. The president is a head of the government of the state. The prime minister is the head of the government. It is a partner with a monarch or president who serves as the ceremonial head of the state. Legislative. Composed of the senator and representative. It is called parliament, which consists of minister. Unitary versus federalism. First is a unitary, a form of government in which the governmental power are concentrated on the national government. Only minimal power is granted on the local governments. Philippines applies this form of government. Number 2. Federal, a form of government in which the governmental powers are served by the local government and the national government. USA is a country that apply federal system. Basic level of government. National government, the level of government that exercises control and influence on the entire state.